Today, we're going to talk about something I think is very important for personal progress, and that is mistakes. That is the lemons that we create for ourselves in our own lives through not doing things in the way that we should, or maybe making things that we shouldn't have made, or making bad choices, or whatever it is. But mistakes happen in life. I think that's the real mistake here, is not learning. And I think for me, this is a video all about how we get the most juice from the lemon. The first point on getting the most out of mistakes is to acknowledge it, right? Like, acknowledging your mistake is probably the most important part of this process. You have to acknowledge the mistake fully. You have to own it, right? You have to allow yourself to be fully accountable for what's happened. You know, we can say to ourselves, yes, it was a huge up, and I really acknowledge that it was my fault. I was responsible for that. Because once we open up to the idea that we're accepting responsibility for something, then we can truly learn from it. Then we can start to see it as an experience that happened, and that we took accountability for it. You know, you don't have to go out on Twitter or go out publicly in the street and scream out at the top of your voice that, oh, it was my fault. You can literally just say to yourself in a personal way, yeah, that was my fault, that happened. Even that small acknowledgement will help you start to grow. It's really, really important that you do that. It really does open up the pathway to growth. It's like opening the door on this whole process. I think the next thing to do is to not take it personally, right? Mistakes happen. They happen all the time. And I think what this means is, it means not identifying with the mistake. So don't make the mistake the person who you are, because it's not an identity, right? People F up all the time. People make problems all the time. Things don't go according to plan all the time. But you can't make it your identity is the reason why. Right. So an example of that would be, you know, this thing happened, therefore I am a bad person. Right. It's like, no, this thing happened because something went wrong. It's not you that went wrong. The situation went wrong. If we do that, what we do is we start to separate the mistake from our identity. And I think in some respects, when we identify or over-identify with mistakes, they can turn into shame. And shame isn't useful. Shame is not useful for personal growth. It will keep you trapped in the mistake, right? So screw that. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to make the mistake useful. We want to turn it into objective information. You know, mistakes aren't identity, right? Mistakes are behavior. And I think if we can start to say, you know, the mistake happened as a product of behavior, then you're winning, because behavior is something that can change, right? People behave well, they behave badly. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means that they were having an off day, right? And you start to give yourself a bit of an outlet for that. I think keeping it external, not taking it personally, not making it personal, also means that you can start to use it. You can start to use it in an objective fashion. And that's where the learning happens, right? When you start to look at something in a calm, measured way. By not making it personal, you can then give yourself much better objective feedback. You can start to analyze the situation and to understand why this time it didn't work out. So look, once you're not taking it personal, then you can start to look at it clearly. You can start to look at the mistake clearly. Mistakes happen for a few reasons. Information, choices, behaviors. If you're ever going to learn from your mistakes, you really need to start looking at the reasons why things happen. So just ask yourself 3 questions, right? What happened? Be really clear. What happened? You know, then why did it happen? What were the reasons why this thing happened? And then lastly, what could you have done differently? Right? See, understanding the mechanics of a mistake is key to avoiding repeating that mistake. Like I said, mistakes are expensive. We want to learn as much as we possibly can from a mistake, because once we have that information, we might not make the mistake again, right? It's really important. So understanding the mechanics are key to preventing the mistake happening again. 3 questions, really simple, right? And then once you have an overview, it's really useful to go deeper with the 5 whys. So if you've never used the 5 whys before, the 5 whys is a really, really simple way to get to the root cause of something. So it's like, why did this thing happen? Okay, why did that happen? Okay, why did that happen? Why did that happen? And then potentially you get to the point where you say, well, that's the reason why everything happened. That's your deeper why, the why underlying the mistake. It's important to go deeper because you're able to get much richer insights. And like I said, this is about making the most of your mistakes. It's not about accepting it. It's actually learning from it so it never happens again. And maybe even you can get much better information out of it, right? But the more you live in the reality of the situation, the more you live in the reality of your mistake, the faster you will learn and the faster you will grow. But mistakes aren't always small. Sometimes they can be huge, and it might take a little while to be able to unpack or unpick certain things, but there's always a reason. And once you get that reason, then you can really start to get into the lessons. The lessons of mistakes are the gifts. It's the gift. Unfortunately, I don't think it is a gift because you do pay for it and it's expensive. Time, energy, resource, whatever you've sacrificed, you should be grateful for the gift because the gift is the thing that you get instead of what it was you wanted. So you have to be grateful for that. They do cost a lot. They're expensive gifts to give ourselves, but inside of each gift is new information. So what's the warning sign you can now recognize? What's the skill that you've acquired or the skill you need to acquire that you didn't know that you needed to acquire? Who can you trust? Who can't you trust, right? These are so valuable and it's stuff that you can only learn, unfortunately, by doing the thing. Next, number 6, I want you to reframe the mistake, right? So instead of thinking, I failed, try, I've learned something invaluable, right? There's a famous story of Edison, who every time he couldn't make the light bulb, he said, I didn't invent a light bulb, I discovered another way not to make a light bulb, right? It's a brilliant mental trick to play on yourself because, look, failure is an end, but feedback is information. So really, it's about reframing the mistake so it becomes feedback. It's not a failure. You're still growing. You've still got many more chances to go. And I think, rejection or something not working out, like these are just states. It's not the end of a process. It's really the process. So reframe it. And also if you're in business, you can look at mistakes as, well, I'm now smarter than my competition in some ways because I know what not to do. They may not have come across that mistake, or in life, someone may not have come across that mistake. And if you are in competition or an athlete or something like that, this is invaluable stuff. You're getting access to information that nobody else has. That's the gift, right? And also mistakes happen in a sequence. So you're going to keep making mistakes. You're going to keep being disappointed. But every mistake you make, as long as you're able to get the juice from that lemon, you're going to do so much better. Once you've reframed it, the next one is to take action. Don't be academic about the learnings, right? Don't just think about the lesson. You have to apply it. You have to apply it quickly. Fix what you can immediately, right? Even if it feels uncomfortable, right? You have to act immediately on the information because proactive problem solving builds momentum, and momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates solutions, right? And also, it often improves the situation. So if you have made a mistake and the situation isn't good, acting quickly with new information, confidently with momentum, you will improve the situation no end. I guarantee it. So a mistake, if you get that information and you act on it very quickly, then you'll find yourself to be in a much better place. Look, I think mistakes that happen often or as a part of a team environment or even in a family, if mistakes are happening constantly, then you have to adjust the system. You have to adjust. I think mistakes cost a lot, right? Emotionally, resource, whatever. So learn from these, right? Don't just let them flail away. Build them in, enhance your processes, enhance your systems, enhance your communication, enhance your decision-making processes, right? And use these as a way to kind of assess and adapt and if you're in a computer world, like debug your life, debug your processes. I think failure makes everything stronger, right? And I think that's the interesting thing about failure is if you see it as a weakness, then you can have that, right? But if you see it as finding out where something isn't strong, then you're winning because you're learning all the time how to improve and where to improve. And that's what it's all about, I think, in life, is learning where to improve. Look, when you ask someone a question, do you want them to tell you the truth, or do you want them to tell you what you want to hear? The majority of the time is most people want to hear what they want to hear, but unfortunately that's not going to help you grow, because if you always hear what you need to hear, you're never going to get that information that is where, actually, you know what, you need to do that thing instead. It's very important to adjust your system. And then I think, mistakes are valuable, and they're also valuable socially. So share the story, tell people in a way that you don't make the mistake sound embarrassing, or you just acknowledge it, right? You take it on the chin. You make it something that, this happened and I learned this from it. If I didn't learn this, I'd still be doing that. It really gives you a sense of giving people space to share mistakes will also make them be more comfortable sharing mistakes. So you actually multiply the amount of mistakes you get access to, or at least the learnings that you get access to, right? Like, it's so important in a team or in a business or in life to create an environment where people feel comfortable being vulnerable, because if they're not, they'll never tell you the bad stuff that happens. And if they don't tell you, you're never going to find out, right? So remember, sharing the story. Also, it saves you from wasting time because you already know what they know. And lastly, and most importantly, once you've learned the lesson, once you've shared it, let it go. Once the mistake has taught you what it needs to about yourself or the world, just thank it. Thanks very much. This was a horrible experience, or I didn't enjoy this experience at all, but I learned something extremely valuable. Wave it by and don't dwell on it and move on, because you're going to find another mistake to make probably in the coming weeks. Take the L, don't beat yourself up, and just keep moving. Mistakes suck. There's no doubt about it, but they're also incredible opportunities for personal and professional growth. So I would say some of the best insights that you have often probably come from bad experiences. So there's always something really good that can come out of something negative, and also use this system, right, to reflect on what it is and why it happened and what you can learn from it, all those things. So highly important. Number 1, acknowledge the mistake. 2, separate it from your identity. Don't take it personally. 3, get it out, look at it clearly. 4, once it's externalized, start to understand it. Don't be afraid to go deeper with the 5 whys. Right? Find the lesson. Look for the gift in every mistake. Reframe the mistake. Like, take a different perspective on it. Reshape it. And once you learn, take action. Don't be academic. Adjust your system. Share the story and let it go. So that's my 10-point plan for making the most of mistakes. Look, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've learned a lot as well. Some of them have been really fun mistakes to make, some of them have been horrendous, but look, I'm a therapist, and if you feel like you want to chat to somebody about some stuff that you're going through, I'm here. So get in contact, and who knows, maybe we can work together. But be well and take care. Thank you.